All right, folks, welcome to another episode of the Alamo Audible Podcast. Oh, man, I almost said Hodcast.
I thought you were going to say hot podcast,
Hot
which is, I think,
Podcast.
well, that works.
Welcome to another episode of Hot Podcast, baby.
Hot
Drop
podcast.
that.
I love that.
But no. We are back in the swing of things. Quick break. Start of April. We put out a ton of episodes through March, so we need some time to regather ourselves, get the fan shop updated. But we're back
Mhm.
today to talk about UTSA's new basketball coach, Austin Claunch, with his introduction press conference taking place today. And it generated like pretty good reviews on social media from the UTSA fan base.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. Well, I mean, first off, I would say that we had a fairly decent setup and fanfare brought
Yeah.
in for
Yeah.
the introductory press conference. And so that was really, really cool to see. It was at Park West, correct?
Yeah. And when I saw like the media invite go out and it said the Park West Fieldhouse, I thought that was really strange.
Yes, absolutely. Why not the Convocation Center or something on the race
But
facility,
yeah,
right?
so race, yeah.
And they decided the Park West, but then I kind of saw what they did in the meeting room with Sosa and the fanfare, right? You had some spirit groups in attendance, and I don't know. I thought it was a fairly decent setup. I think, of
Mhm.
course, there's some easy upgrades for UTSA to make that a little bit better. I mean, we still had the beer pong pop up table, that Lisa
Yeah.
Campos and
I missed
Austin
that.
Claunch
I
were
missed
sitting
that.
at. We could afford, I think, an elevated surface, like a pop-up stage that they could be 2 or 3 feet higher. Those are
Sure.
only a
Yeah.
couple
Yeah.
$100. You could get a decent podium
They
or
probably have
something
that on campus
for them
in
to sit at. They
facilities.
probably do. Yeah, just roll that thing over to Hosman, dude, for an event like this. There's not a little semi we could throw that in. But
Oh
I
man,
thought it
some
was
facilities
good.
guys gonna put a badass budget request in for some crazy ATV to take it
Look,
to Park West.
we need a little bit of that there, but we had the letters set up. I think it was cool bringing out Sosa. Austin Clunch got pretty good ovations, whenever like you actually saw the amount of media in attendance, but versus the way it sounded great. And so
Yeah, it was very professional.
I think that had a lot to do with just how excited people are to have Austin Clunch in the building. And I think it also at the end, whenever he got his ovation and after he made his opening remarks, he got an ovation before he went to questions. I think that just went to speak of how well he did in his speaking and his introduction. A
Mhm.
lot of people were happy with how he said hello to us as fans
Yeah.
of the university and media members of the university. I thought he did a great job. I thought he spoke well. A very different sort of energy, I think, from what we saw at like a Jeff Traylor press conference, right?
Mhm.
But he still was easygoing. He was very, very candid. He didn't seem too serious. He brought a youthful energy. And so I was really happy with the number of points that he made, which we'll get into, of course.
Yeah, yeah. Before we start getting into the finer points of it, just to kind of respond to the overall presentation of the press conference, I agree with you. I thought it seemed very well put together. It seemed like a lot of time, attention, and care went into it, which was nice. And I thought like from the tech perspective, the stream on YouTube was great. They actually had like a live premiere set up on YouTube for like 24 hours. So like if you happen to see like the thumbnail on YouTube, you could like get notified when they go live and then follow with a live chat. Like, man, that again, that's one of those things like for us OG UTSA athletic fans to think that's where the program would be at 10 years ago was pretty insane. I mean, I don't even think there were press conferences after games in like the Brooks Thompson era. So I could be totally wrong about that. I don't know, but it definitely is not like how it is today, where it's so accessible to the fans.
Sure.
And you get that, face-to-face interaction virtually with the players and coaches and all that. So that was really cool to see. But also, I mean, let's be honest, they had a lot of time to prepare for this press conference because they were waiting for Coach Claunch to either win the Natty or get kicked out, and they kept winning. So a lot of time to do that go the extra mile to prepare for that.
Yeah. Yeah. Incredible stuff, man. We certainly had time to prepare, and I think they did a good job of it. I had the exact same thought, especially while you were talking. I wonder, would it have looked as clean if Claunch got here the day after, the hiring was announced? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Was it Charleston or whatever? I think was their first round matchup that people thought they'd get upset.
yeah, sure. But they did a good job. They made a good run. And he's got a lot of really exciting energy, and I really liked how he talked about big picture things for UTSA. I liked how much we got to hear about his staff. I liked how much we got to hear about his process of getting over here and how his first impressions have been on campus. And we even got to get a little bit of taste of kind of what he wants to do as a coach as far as basketball style, which
Mhm.
is funny because he said he wasn't going to spend a lot of time on it, and then he kind of
Yeah.
talked a lot about
Yeah.
it. So
Yeah.
I thought that was awesome. And
And that's how you know
uh,
someone's passionate about something. Because I do that at work all the time. I'm like, oh, I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about this, but it's something I really care about. And I just can't help myself, you know?
yeah, and on that note, talk about how it's like a different sort of energy from. You have Jeff Traylor's press conference, if everyone remembers his introductory press conference,
Oh,
and
Adrian, who could forget?
of course, right? But even those different energies, they both had like similar things that they were saying, right? When it came to the vision and overall what could be done here at UTSA, what they want to do, and being candid with that vision and how excited they just were about taking on the role and being a part of this process. And so, I just I'm really happy to see Claunch here and I don't know, because Henson also had a little bit of this, but the youthful energy, the glow, the excitement, it's just such a refreshing perspective to have because you lose that. You lose that excitement, that youthful exuberance. And over the course of several losing seasons and mediocre seasons, you start to wonder, and then you just get that fresh perspective and that outlook. And it feels like you can forget what that outlook is like, even as a fan base. And you finally get someone to come in and they have that new vision. It's just been a constant theme that we've seen across, from Amy's arrival here to
Mhm.
campuses to trailers to hallmarks, Karen Aston's.
Yeah, sometimes just having a fresh perspective, fresh blood, fresh outlook makes all the difference in the world. Even if it's a similar message to what has been shared previously, hearing it from a different voice, I think sometimes can reinvigorate people.
Yeah, and gosh, I mean, we spent an entire podcast whenever Claunch was first hiring, sort of talking about Claunch and his background in UTSA making this move and what we thought about the hire. But just to sort of echo, and you guys should go back and listen to it. But just to sort of echo it, I mean, it really does feel like a home run hire that Lisa Campos and UTSA made with Austin Claunch. And sure, the introductory presser further solidifies that, but I mean, just his resume and what he's done so far as such a young coach. And he even mentioned today in his presser getting to a head coach position at Nicholls State at 28 years old,
26, 28.
28 years old, flabbergasting, quite literally flabbergasting. And what he's done that young and in such a short period of time, it's tremendous. And golly, what a home run hire it feels like so far. Sure, that has yet to be proven, but I'm so confident that it will be.
Mhm. I really want to go find that opening press conference that he did in Nichols that he referred to, where he said he was like stumbling over his words and
Yeah,
mumbling and stuff. That would be really interesting to compare this press conference with that one, rather.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Before we start going more into some of the things that we picked out from the press conference and some of the things that kind of piqued our interest, do want to take a quick moment to first off let Adrian talk about some new additions to the fan shop on alamoaudible.com.
I mean, look, it's been a very tedious trying to create the fan shop into the vehicle that we want it to be for you guys to get UTSA merch. And we've always had a big vision for it. We launched it last year and we spent a lot of time getting it off the ground and we were so excited to get it off the ground. And then we actually learned what it was like trying to run the fan shop properly. And we realized we had a lot to gain in that realm. And so, we took this year of working as sort of learning experience and troubleshooting and getting a lot of feedback and what was working and feedback from our experiences, feedback from you guys, just trying things out. And now we spent a lot of time behind the scenes and recalibrating a lot of things from our product lineup to new designs and to how the website on the fan shop side is functioning and working for you guys and the user experience. And which that's something that we're always trying to get better at across all things Alamo Audible, but we really wanted to be optimal for you guys for the fan shop. And I think we're a place now where we've got the infrastructure there. We're super excited about that. And so if you haven't been to the fan shop and looked around in a while, I highly, highly urge you guys to do so. There's some really, really high quality merchandise. Like I said, we've taken your guys' feedback as our audience and also as our customers at our fan shop, the products that we have sold over the past year. what has been the best received, what have we had the best feedback on, what have we thought from our own perspective was the best sort of items that we were getting from our supplier, and then recreating those and doing those even bigger and better, and coming out with all new designs for it too. And so a lot of hot stuff, man. It's Fiesta season. We've resurrected the Los Muertos collection, which is seasonal. If you guys recall, for Dia de los Muertos, we brought it out Hispanic Heritage Day, October of last football season. It was a hit. It's only available for a limited time, as it was last year. So it's a seasonal release. It'll only be available during Fiesta season, all the way through April. So it's neon colors of our Banditos Grim Reaper, adorned in Calavera face paint, and it's a really, really cool design. We've got a lot of great feedback on it. We finally got the hats up and running. We couldn't get the hats going for this line last October. We're very excited that they are available now in the neon retro Spurs colors. That's pink and teal options. I've got the teal one on. It's freaking banger. This is the perfect stuff to rock to Nyosa this year and to Oyster Bake. So yeah, you should get the Los Muertos line before it's too late, before you have to wait till October. And then, of course, our baseball line with the SA logo. We put a lot of work into that. Shout out to Aaron. It's absolutely fantastic. We're representing the city of San Antonio in a whole new way, a classic take. And yeah, man, I urge you guys to go check out the gear. There's a lot of cool stuff there.
Yeah, we couldn't do it all without the support of our Patreon subscribers, of course. Felt a lot of love these past couple of weeks with all the great podcasts we've been putting out. So thank you to everyone who reached out and just gave some words of encouragement. Got a lot of nice notes from very long time listeners that are really happy with all the pods we've been dropping, all the big guests that we've had on, and we got a few more really cool ones and big ones that we're working on. So stay tuned for that. And one of the people that reached out with a really nice note was one of the OGs, Sumner McDaniel, has been a Patreon subscriber forever. Once we had Lisa Campos on, he was like, "Man, I gotta bump my subscription up. You guys are killing it." So thank you, Sumner. Really appreciate you, man. Thank you to our Board of Trustees members, Digiteek, John Altwell, Gary and Rupin represent the UTSA Bird Gang Tailgate, Ray Redding and Meet Me Apparel, Brandon Grail and the Grow Realty Group, Andy Elizada, Proficient Benefit Solutions, Ian McClendon and Seeker LLC, Ryan Squares, Waterman Construction, Siobhan Townsend, VP of the DFW chapter of the UTSA Alumni Association, UTSA Annual Giving, Artisan Vapor and CBD, and of course our big money donors, Ben Tovar, the Bunch family, Zach Espedicueta and the San Antonio Podcast Network, Alejandro Benavides, Dan Nerdhall, host of Around the Bird Bath, Jake Cavasos, board president for the UTSA Alumni Association, John Nally, Brandon Patron, Rick Cortez of Red Road Killers, and of course Summer McDaniel, who's joined us at the big money donor tier. So thank you guys all so much for your support.
Jared, do we want to jump into a Kumia break before we jump into the big Austin Claunch introductory presser today?
I think it's time. Let's do that. Let's come back in just a second. All right, welcome back from the Kumbi break. Hope you guys enjoyed it with Fiesta right around the corner, or depending on when you're listening to this, it could be Fiesta right now, I suppose. Unfortunately for me, I'm going to be in San Antonio during Fiesta, but I have to go to a daytime wedding, so I'm not going to get to do any fun Fiesta stuff.
Oh my gosh, unbelievable.
Yeah, bummer. I'm literally going to be a couple miles away from the spring game. When the spring game is happening, it will not be inside the dome, so that's a heartbreaker for me.
And
Anyways.
It's funny because it's always like no fall weddings because they always get in the way of football. So you get a spring wedding and it's like perfect. It's not going to interfere with football. What are the chances?
Yeah, I know.
It interferes with the spring game. I should be in attendance for the Alamo Audible representation there. So
yeah, and I'll say for the Patreon subscribers too, please hop in the Patreon chat during and after the spring game and let us know your thoughts, your takeaways. In our secret little Patreon community where your hot takes can be shared across fellow subscribers.
Yes, and we would like as much commentary as possible.
Feed my eyes and ears while I'm away.
Trying to understand the spring game from as many angles as we possibly can, right? The inside look at what's
cool. To jump back to the Austin Claunch introductory press conference, for me, I think the coolest part of the press conference was hearing Coach Claunch's personal connection to the program.
How incredible, man. So we talk about Austin Claunch being a Texas boy, grew up in Houston, went to straight Jesuit. Parents are also Texans, dad from El Paso, mom from Dallas, but his dad was actually a coach and started an AAU team whenever Claunch was pretty young. And he played, growing up, played basketball right alongside UTSA great, UTSA legend, Devin Gibson. Unbelievable. Said his dad coached him for 12 years.
Yeah, that AAU circuit, it's some really tight connections, really spread across the basketball world. It's cool to see. Also got a Say Pay name drop, which is really cool. I saw Say Pay tweet about Coach Claunch, like showing his support and telling the
Wow.
UTSA fan base, give this guy a chance. He's going to turn it around. But it turns out like they have a personal connection as well. And with him being a Houston guy, it made sense. But I didn't think to put two and two together that he would have any kind of personal connection to the program. But then to
Right.
hear Coach Claunch say that, when he was in high school, Coach Thompson didn't necessarily recruit him to UTSA, but he recruited straight Jesuit when Claunch was there.
Mhm.
And they built that relationship, and how Brooks always just treated him with so much respect. And man, that was really cool. Just so unexpected, and I was very
Well,
emotional because I don't know about you, man, but for me, even like with having seen Keaton Wallace or Devon Jackson, to me that Brooks Thompson era is the peak of UTSA basketball
always,
for someone my age, right?
always, of course. Well, and that's the crazy thing. You say someone our age, you think about Austin Claunch. He was born in 1989. He's 34 years old.
Yeah, it's
And
pretty much
so
our age.
when we got to UTSA, it was, Devin Gibson in the Brooke Thompson era.
Yeah.
So it all kind of made sense whenever Austin said he grew up playing ball with Devin Gibson. And then I was like, oh, wow. Well, that the timeline wise kind of smacked me in the face, right?
Right.
So that was really, really cool, man, to have that connection. But no, I think anybody that was at UTSA during that time really holds an intimate relationship to that era of the basketball program. And you got to remember, football hadn't started yet, was starting, had just started during
Mhm.
that Brooke Thompson son era. And so basketball was really sort of the harping point of UTSA athletics.
Yeah,
And
we had homecoming during basketball season.
that's what you attended as a student. Those were the games that you were at, and that's where you saw everybody. And that was sort of the extracurricular sporting event of UTSA was going to the Convo for a basketball game, man. And so that was that era. It was so cool to hear that. And it also felt like what were the chances, but you hear a connection like that, and there's just that little bit more of intimacy to the program. I think
Mhm.
that's really cool, really serves as something. And on that note, Claunch also sort of put that open invite out there of welcoming alumni back to the program. We want you guys to be involved with the program. We want to see more of you. And I don't know if
Mhm.
this is basketball specific, but I do know once upon a time, we saw alumni of different UTSA athletics programs sort of had a public outcry for wanting to be more invited or welcome
Yeah.
back to campus as alumni. And I think that's something that UTSA has gotten better at across their programs in these last few years, recent years. And so it's good to see a new coach embracing that as well, because we would love to see guys from that era, that Brooke Thompson era. And you talk about it, Javon Jackson and Keaton Wallace, who are now having successful professional careers.
Mhm.
You want to see those guys back on campus being ambassadors, helping get better recruits out there and in front of Austin Claunch and in the Convocation Center.
Yeah, and I don't know how many of the fans today really remember these guys. We're on the older end, I guess, at this point for average UTSA fan. But I personally, I would just love to see some of those basketball alumni that went on to do great things, or won awards at UTSA,
Mm-hmm.
went to the tournament, just get honored, at halftime during a game, show them on the I was gonna say jumbotron. I hesitate to call it that in the combo. Um, but just make them feel like they're an integral part of this program, and that like they said in the press conference, there is history here. There is a winning tradition,
Yes.
and Claunch said it himself. Like there's more winning tradition, way more winning tradition here than when I was at Nichols, right?
Mm.
And it's not as far back as like what little Nichols had, right? So I don't think it's going to take much to reactivate that. And we saw Jeff Traylor do it with football, right? A lot of the alumni that are really engaged and active in supporting the program that are there every year. You see them in the tailgate lots, you see them on the field getting honored. A lot of those folks, they weren't around, right, for most of the Wilson era. So I think they can learn some lessons from Coach Traylor, Lisa Campos, and all of them on how they were able to build those bridges back, because you have to have that family atmosphere in a program to really have a really strong culture. I think it's super important.
Yes. And he talked about it's when you talk about Jeff Traylor in his introductory press conference, him turning around football so quickly. Claunch said, it's not going to take as long as you guys think. We can do it quicker than maybe what it seems, right? And so I like the urgency there. He also spoke very, very highly, very complimentary of Jeff Traylor and his first conversation with Jeff Traylor, them speaking of their greater vision for UTSA and really building something here, what it can be as a program, as a university. And he also talked about the benefit that other athletic programs receive by way of having good football. And I
Mhm.
thought that was really cool to hear because you sort of know that, but it's cool to hear it out loud.
I really appreciated him acknowledging that Texas is a football state and that he is a big football fan. Because
Yes.
I think, and yeah, I don't think like a ton of UTSA fans really follow college basketball all that closely, myself included. I am far from a college basketball junkie,
Yeah.
but a lot of schools, there is a lot of friction between the basketball head coach and the football head coach. And there's this
Mm,
battle for resources, there's this battle for attention. And I firmly believe that you're going to make a lot more inroads, you're going to get more fan support if you work hand in hand with them and you don't compete. You saw it at Kentucky recently, where like football started succeeding, and then their coach was complaining that people are paying more attention to football or whatever. But I think if you can kind of combine forces and have a unified presence, supporting each other and backing each other up, and that's something that UTSA athletics does a phenomenal job across the board, throughout the Campos and Amy era, of really having that almost like a high school kind of feel where you show up and you support all the other teams. The coaches are showing up and supporting other teams, and seeing them on the ESPN Plus broadcasts are always cool too. So I really appreciated Claunch going out of his way to just to kind of acknowledge that dynamic and lean into it and not shy away from it.
yeah, absolutely. And he did a great job speaking, tying that all in together, starting with Texas is a football first state. It's a football state. And then sort of segueing that into how beneficial that is for basketball.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of a masterclass, to be quite honest with you. He stopped to give a round of applause for Karen Acid, the women's basketball team.
Yeah,
Very
that's
classy
nice.
touch. Yeah, I really appreciated. So him going out of his way to sort of compliment the strides that other UTSA programs are making, and sort of tying it back into those are strides that he's looking to make. And we can turn around just how those other two programs did, which I think is a great example for a UTSA fan to keep in mind, right? You think that UTSA basketball is in the doldrums and it's so hard of a climb out of there, and look at our facilities and look what we have to work with. But then you look at what Karen Ass has done, you look at what Jeff Traylor's done, and their quick turnarounds, and not small turnarounds, but drastic, polar opposite programs with their turnarounds to do it in just a couple of years. So it's possible for UTSA basketball and Austin Claunch to do that here. Keep that in mind for your pessimism as a Roadrunner basketball fan right now. The
Yeah, and I think I said this on the last episode that we did when Claunch was first hired, but college basketball is so volatile nowadays. I mean, I really think that you can hit on three or four really good guys out of the portal that other schools miss out on or overlook or whatever, and you can be really good right away. I mean, you don't have to have a super deep bench to be a really strong basketball program. Or sorry, I should correct myself there. To be a really strong basketball team, I think to be a
yes,
really strong program, you got to have some depth, right? You got to be resilient. What was it the Yukon women that had like seven players available and like went to the championship? Like that's nuts.
yeah,
Um, and they did that because they had the depth where they, could trust those players part on the bench. But my point being, I mean, you can catch lightning in a bottle pretty quick, especially when other teams aren't holding on to their players. Like
mm,
UNT just had one of their best players go into the portal this week, right? So other teams are not as consistently strong year to year anymore as they used to be. Football's like that a little bit, but I think college basketball it's even more extreme.
and the transfer portal changes the game for everybody, man. You can make
Yeah,
turnarounds a lot quicker than you used to be able to.
yeah.
And one thing, well, we're talking about him being able to turn around a program and being able to do that at UTSA like other programs have, despite maybe the position that programs might be in. And the main thing that people like to point to is the convocation center, the convocation center. The most epic quotable line from Austin Claunch's interview. He was actually doing this fantastic, again, another masterclass at speaking and presenting, sort of saying, we're going to do it regardless of what resources we have. And I quote, cut down nets in the convo. And he said it 2 or 3 or 4 times, cut down nets in the convo, cut down nets in the convo. So he's telling you, without you even realizing it, your subconscious, he's telling you that in the convocation center is where we're going to have despite playing in the convocation center, is where we're going to have a winning basketball team, a championship winning basketball team. It's going to be in the convo. It's going to be right here with this quote unquote lack of resources that you guys think we have. No, we're going to do it. We're going to bring the talent here and we're going to get winning basketball back into this building. Cut down nets in the combo. What a bombshell to say cut down nets in the combo, Jared. Unbelievable.
That phrase really stuck with me too. I wrote it down in my notes the first time I heard it, and I got a really vivid mental image of that. I don't think I've ever seen, for as long as I've been following UTSA basketball, men's and women's, I don't think I've ever seen nets get cut down in the convo. I saw them cut down the nets in Katy when they won the Southland Conference tournament and they got a bid, to March Madness. But I don't think I've ever seen them cut down nets in the convo. Like how wild that I've been an obsessive UTSA fan since 2008, 2009 or whatever.
It's an incredible visual. Yeah. It's an incredible visual to imagine. And when he said it, it felt real. And maybe it's a big pipe dream right now, but it is fantastic to think about and to have a vision like that, have a dream for the program to do something like that. And he said, on that same note, we talk about cut down nets in the combo. He said, I want to go undefeated at home. He said it was one of his enormous, biggest goals for this program. He said he wasn't able to complete that task at Nichols State. I think the best one they had 3 losses at home in their best season there. He said he wants to go undefeated at home and have a true home court. So here again, he's sort of talking about being able to do it despite, where we play or despite the lack of resources, however you guys want to put it, however you guys want to frame it. So I thought that was really incredible to hear. He had a cool sort of concept when he talked about getting the dome packed with people again, and that was bring one friend with you. That's all it takes. And we're going to have an exciting brand of basketball, not just a winning brand of basketball. And that's how attendance and exposure and attention got reinvested into football, was having an entertaining brand of football. It scored points. That was fun to watch. That's sort of what he wants to do here with the basketball program. So again, these parallels with Jeff Traylor's opening interview and then what we were able to see here from him. And dude, he talked a little bit about building at Nichols State and sort of the task that was over a couple of years, lack of resources that he had there. And, 1, 2, 3 in this 4th year there, playing in a packed home gym for a play-in game or a winner-take-all game, and him just having sort of a moment where he was able to take it all in, because that was what ultimately his goal for the program was, to have that reinvested interest, being able to play in a game that mattered for people that cared about it. And he achieved that there. So I don't know, man. It was just fantastic stuff to hear.
Yeah, definitely. To me, the bombshell of the press conference was him announcing his staff, or the beginning of his staff. It was kind of a cute moment when he leaned over to Lisa and asked for permission to name his assistants in the press conference. I love he's got a mind for compliance, right? You see a guy do something like that. I love that. Ask for permission first or whatever. That was funny. I got a good giggle out of that.
And once he did get the green light, he went all in on full-on bios for all 4 of his assistants. He told us everything he wanted to know about the staff. So that was incredible. Bios and resumes for everyone included.
But to get Joseph Jones as an assistant coach is an absolute coup of a hire. I mean, he was on my list of candidates for the head coaching job at UTSA. For those that didn't read that piece or are not familiar with him, So he stepped in as the interim head coach at Tarleton State
Hmm.
when Gillespie stepped away from the program, and did a tremendous job of leading Tarleton. They had a tremendous year. I can't remember their record, but they were over 20 wins, I'm pretty sure. Tarleton is not a traditional basketball power by any means, and I think they just moved up to D1 not too long ago, I believe. Um, and he is a tremendous player at Texas A&M. So he's got deep Texas ties. He's a great recruiter,
Yes.
great coach for big men, for Coach Claunch. So to I don't know. It's crazy to me that UTSA is at a point now where they can go hire the like reigning WAC coach of the year as an assistant coach.
Hmm.
I mean, I
Yes.
wouldn't be surprised if Joseph Jones' salary alone is like the entire assistant pool for UTSA coaches last year combined.
Yeah, it's incredible to think about that because when you first read, an interim head coach, sure, but then an interim head coach that won coach of the year in the WAC, you're almost like, oh my gosh, and for that to come to UTSA, once upon a time, I think that would have been to a lot of people a lateral move on the way that they were looking at it from the outside in. So incredible. It's just incredible for UTSA to take that investment and go into it. It's a tremendous hire. You talk about the Texas ties, you talk about the recruiting tie-ins there, but clearly from an X's and O's standpoint, from a culture standpoint, this guy really, really knows what he's doing to be able to be that successful. His first time ever having to lead a program before,
Mhm.
and to do it as an interim. And so, yeah, I love that. I love that he highlighted that he's going to be a person that's going to be focusing on big men for him. He also mentioned, and we'll go through all four names. So another name that he mentioned was Trevor Deloche, who spent the last 3 seasons as associate head coach at Jacksonville. And he was also the associate head coach at Nichols with Claunch. He spoke highly of him as an elite recruiter as well. He also announced Nick Bowman, who was assistant coach and recruiting coordinator at University of New Orleans. He worked for Claunch at Nichols as well. All 5 seasons that he was there, so they have a lot of history coaching together on the same staff like that. And then Joey Brooks. Joey Brooks is a cool name. They actually played together at Strake Jesuit. So, I mean, you're talking about childhood friend that he's had there. And he's kind of got an extensive resume of stops and places that he's been at. But
Mhm.
he has been at Sweet 16 with a couple of bigger programs. And this is cool because actually all of these guys have a little bit of tie-in back to a winning program. This is something that Campos talks about whenever she makes hires. And then Claunch sort of echoed that whenever he made his hires for his coaching staff. I wanted guys that were at winning programs. There's something important to knowing what a winning culture is like. And so it's good to see. And all these guys that are on the staff seem to have had coaching experience at a pretty high level on the staff, or even a head coaching experience at some point or another. Or, whether as associate head coach or head coach at a smaller level. So I like that. It seems like you've got a lot of big basketball minds on there.
Mhm. I think the staff's not complete yet. I'd really like to see like a coaching veteran, a guy who's really been around the block,
Hmm.
30 years of experience kind of deal. Just because the staff is so young, Claunch is so young, I think having someone who has seen a lot of different scenarios and can give that perspective, I think would be really valuable. But there's still time to go hire, coaches that do have a little bit more of that experience to give I guess a little bit more experience across the board to the table.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, I mean, I think that sort of ties in with what Claunch wants to do. He didn't seem like he was the biggest analytics fan.
Yeah.
He says he wants
Which
to
is
play.
funny because like Alabama plays 100% like an analytics driven program.
Yeah, but he was
I think
only
coaches like
Bama.
to say that. Yeah.
He was only
Whatever.
a Bama for a year, though. I mean,
Sure.
I think you'd have to look at Nichols and say, did Nichols
Yeah.
play a very
Yeah.
analytical ball style? And he did talk about efficiency in the same breath that he says he doesn't want to run around and shoot threes. But when he says he doesn't want to run around and shoot threes, That just means, he doesn't want to play from the analytical perspective of efficiency field goal percentage,
Hmm.
which I love to hear something like that. I can't stand that modern style of efficiency field goal percentage and more emphasis on 3-pointers. But being unselfish basketball, passing up a good shot for a great shot, a la Spurs-esque, whether that's mid-range or distance or taking a layup, that is still also very analytical basketball to play. Choosing your spots and being high efficiency, it's just a different form of analytics. It's more of an original form
Right,
of
right, right.
analytics.
Yeah.
So you could still be, and so I think he just means the modern style is something that he sort of wants to shy away from. But he talks about being up tempo, but him saying I don't want to run around and shoot threes. I mean, I think I'll put my hands in the air whenever he said that.
I took
Bless
that
his
more
heart.
of like we want to run set plays and not just like be jacking stuff up all the time. Maybe both are true.
Right, and unselfish basketball kind of ties into that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think running those set plays and being unselfish was something that UTSA basketball sort of got away from, especially through a Javon Jackson era, and then you kind of go into disarray, and then you're playing
Hmm.
with the new groups of guys every single year, and you couldn't really develop, I think, that chemistry that you need to play unselfish basketball.
Yeah. I'm gonna wildly change topics. I really love that you threw a Cowboys joke in there. That's knowing your audience right there. Well done.
Well, yeah, and he was speaking from a Cowboys fan's perspective. He said he grew up going to church and watching the Cowboys on Sunday. And so, yeah, you talk about knowing your audience, Jared. That's huge. That's huge. And man, we get those Cowboys jerseys and cowboy hats in the Alamo Dome every single Saturday, and
Hmm.
it's a big part of the culture down here in San Antonio. And again, him talking about Texas is a football state. He admires that. He respects that. He knows that. But it was good. I did appreciate the Cowboys joke, Jared. I did. But it was good to know that more so. Um, he's a level-headed Cowboys diehard. He loves his Cowboys, but he also is very objective about where they stand as a team and organization. And I like to consider myself a level-headed Cowboys fan, so I appreciate that too. Not all Cowboys fans in San Antonio are
Yeah.
level-headed enough to
Yeah.
to have that
Well, I
perspective.
hope I hope Coach Claunch can kind of make those same inroads with Spurs fans.
Mm.
So I think there's a cool opportunity there to, build some kind of camaraderie between people that maybe didn't go to UTSA but love good basketball. Maybe they live close to the Northwest side. It's cheap to come out
Well,
to the Compo for a game.
brother, I mean, how about just camaraderie between the Spurs and the
There's
Roadrunners?
been
I mean, we've seen
so little engagement between those two programs.
as UTSA has really had not just the Olive Branch extended, but the Olive Branch taken on the San Antonio side. This relationship has really budded over the last 5 years into something that is truly a beautiful partnership and really, really blossomed, and why not have that translate over to the basketball side? I think you make a great point about getting fans, people that like watching the Spurs could very, very easily end up liking watching the Roadrunners. I think a lot of people, we talk about Cowboys jerseys in the Alamo Dome, a lot of people that watch the Cowboys have turned and become Roadrunners fans to some degree. It could happen here. And why not seeing some sort of involvement, association, engagement with the two programs? And now, Jared, in a very near future where the Spurs will be playing basketball right next to where the Roadrunners play football, and these facilities are together, and they're both downtown. I don't know. Can that just make things a little bit easier? I don't know, man, but I would love to start seeing a little bit more of that get done. I know there's been nights where college students and Roadrunners are invited to the AT&T Center, but that's been the extent of it. We got to see a little bit more engagement on that front, man.
One time I searched the Spurs Twitter account for like all their tweets, and they had only mentioned the words UTSA like 3 times in 10
Mm,
years.
mm. It's a big window. It's a big window of opportunity, and it's there. It's there for the
Yeah.
taking. No reason why we can't do it.
Yeah, 100%. Well, Adrian, the last thing that I'll leave on with my thoughts is one of my takeaways from the press conference is so much of it felt like a recruiting pitch to the current players. And I use the term current players loosely because they're pretty much all in the portal. The guys that are enrolled at UTSA that play basketball, maybe is the way to say it. Quite a few of them came out for the press conference, which was good. I was a little bit curious if, or I guess I was curious how much of an effort he would make to retain the roster, right?
Sure.
Because with the transfer portal nowadays, every time a guy leaves, that's another scholarship you can use and go get someone in the portal, right?
Look,
Fresh start. But he seems very keen to keep as many of these guys as he can.
really? Look,
Okay,
I
you're
kind
different.
of got yes, bro. He said well, he was asked specifically about the roster, and to me, it sounded like he was very, very candid about having team and player meetings to make those roster evaluations first off.
Okay,
He's like, hey,
yeah,
we're having meetings right now. And to
yeah,
me, it sounded like he was very open to making cuts,
sure,
changes,
sure.
however you want to phrase it, if necessary. He said, and I quote, we want players that want to be here. We want players that want to be at UTSA.
Okay,
We're having those player meetings. So I was like, oh shit, he doesn't mind the chop and block and coming in
right.
here and making the necessary changes. I don't know. That's how I gauged.
I think both are true. I think for those guys that have given him a chance, that met with him over Zoom, that showed up to the press conference, that are good AAC level ball players,
Mm-hmm.
like yeah, I think he wants to keep them. But I think he also knows that there's probably not a whole lot of those for the taking right now.
That'll be interesting, man. We want the best for UTSA basketball. I'm excited about the hire, Jared. Like I said, I think Lisa Campos and UTSA really knocked this one out of the park. And we'll see how quickly it could come to fruition for Austin Claunch here in the Convocation Center. Cut nets in the combo. Cut down nets in the combo.